might have read about some of those famous people who have trusts. Or you might have had lawyers or other advisors say, you know, you should consider having a trust in your estate plan to protect your assets or else to help you save some taxes. I'm Rhonda Johnson, and I'm a lawyer with Dentons Canada, and I work with a team of other lawyers, and together we spend our days helping families come up with plans and solutions for their estate planning needs so that our clients can breathe more easily and have some peace of mind. I do a lot of work with trusts, and we thought it might be helpful if we spent a little bit of time with you to talk about really what trusts are and when you might consider using them. So let's talk about what are trusts. First then, they are at their core really a relationship when one person gives another person some kind of property and then another person holds it for a third person. So let's use an example. I love to bicycle. So I might give you my wonderful collection of bicycles, and I want you as my trustee to hold it for my children and my grandchildren, depending on their ages and how well they can bicycle, and depending on their interest in bicycles. So I am what we call the settler, and you are the trustee. I provide you with the property, and you hold it in trust for my beneficiaries, my kids and my grandkids. You have title to my bicycles, but you only have legal title. Really, the people that benefit from my bicycles are my kids and my grandkids, so they are the beneficial owners of the trust property. So as you can see from that example, there's a split between the legal ownership, you, the trustee, and the beneficial ownership, my kids and the grandkids. And you can also see that I have lost the property. I have truly given it to you, but I've told you, here's how I want you to hold it. The history of trusts is that probably at least 400 years ago, those wonderful knights went off to war, and what they did is they said, I'm leaving my land behind, so I want my person that I pick, my trustee, to hold my land and make sure it's protected and hold it for the people that are on that land and collect the taxes from those people that are on the land. And then hopefully I'll come back from war and my land will be still there. And if I don't do that, someone else is going to sneak in and take my land. So that's the history of trusts, but trusts aren't just for knights and wealthy people. They're used at all times. And 400 years later, we're still using trusts. So let's look at how today we might use trusts in our planning and in our lives. So trusts really are very wonderful and flexible, and they're adaptable to many different circumstances, and they can be used for all sorts of scenarios, not just, as I said, for knights and ultra high net worth people. So let's look at how we might use trusts today. The most common one, and I'll bet you if you have a will, you've got a trust, is that we provide for our minor children or maybe our grandkids, and we hold it for them. We might hold it for them half at 21, half at 25, whatever it is. And until then, it's used for their benefit. So it might be for their education or whatever other needs. So the second scenario that's quite common is when we're in second relationships. So whether I'm widowed or I'm divorced, I have a second spouse and I want to provide for him or her. How do I do that? But after they've gone, I want to provide for my kids, not my partner's kids. How do I do that? A spousal trust. That way I provide for my spouse and they don't get it outright, so they don't give it to their children. When they pass away, it comes back to my side. The third example is something that's really important. If I have a disabled adult child, let's say I've got someone with schizophrenia, or I've got a child that has Down syndrome, I really want to make sure that I provide a trust so that they can be taken care of and the funds are held for their benefit, but they don't have access to it directly, so it doesn't affect their ability to qualify for benefits, nor are they vulnerable to people that might prey on them because they have funds, or they might themselves not understand how to deal with the funds. A common example, a fourth example, is for family trusts. That's usually when I'm a business owner and I've done well, I've started my company from nothing and it's increased a ton, and I create a family trust to gradually plan for the succession of my business to my family members. The final example of when we might use a trust is to avoid probate. In BC and Ontario and Nova Scotia, the probate fees are quite high. And in British Columbia, adult independent children have an ability to make a claim against their parents' estates. So in those cases, sometimes when we're over 65, we might consider putting a trust in place to take the trust assets out of the estate and out of harm's way, either for probate fees or for claims by adult independent children. So trusts themselves are wonderful and flexible, but I'd like to make sure that we are careful because they're two fundamental things that are going to catch you up on trusts if we don't do them properly. The first is taxes, and there are elaborate tax plans in place to deal with trusts, and so we have to make sure that we plan around those tax consequences, so you want to get good advice there. And the second point is that you want to make sure it's properly drafted. So, as I said earlier, trusts have a long and wonderful history, but as a result, different words have come to mean different things and are interpreted in certain ways. So we've got to get that wording straight, otherwise it's going to be interpreted in a different way and have some serious consequences. As an example, I have on my desk right now a file where the person tried to draft their own trust, and sadly they bumped into some pretty serious tax consequences. And we've got adult children who are very upset, and there's a lot of tension in the family. So draft it properly and get good tax advice, and make sure you pick your trustee wisely because they have a lot of power and control. So I hope that's been helpful in demystifying trusts, and you can contact us at our website if you would like more information.